listening to the Mark Bradford Alchemy for Life podcast.
Ooh, I'll have what she's having. Well, hey there. Welcome back. We're pretty deep into this new way of life, and it looks like we're seeing signs of getting out of it. But it still affects us greatly. And I know that after almost 200 podcasts, that it might be a good idea to, instead of throwing more stuff at you, to actually help you wade through what I've given you before. I put a lot of effort into making these for you, very happily. And my happiness is equal to how much you get use out of it. But if you're just inundated by it and scrolling through it and don't even know what they're about, that's not useful. So I thought instead of hitting you with the water hose or the waterfall, I would give you a card catalog, a menu, if you will. And we can walk through a few recent ones that I can sort of curate for you. And as I've always said, and many others have, it's not knowing the information, but it's knowing where to go to get the information. So I'm going to help you get the information. During this time, you need to know what to do differently. And if you want to know how to cope with the reality and how to stay on track, then give a listen to Accountability in Trying Times. There is something that you can do at no cost to you or other people that is really, really powerful. It's really good. It's really good stuff. It's sort of like hiring a consultant. And essentially it is approaching someone that you know who's not in your household, and there's a reason for that, to help you keep on track. And you do the same for them. And then one of the cool things is they don't have to know anything about what it is that you do. They don't have to be in the same sector. They don't have to be in the same place as you. They just have to have an empathy and an understanding for it. And the nice thing as well is that though during this quarantine period you may be forced to do it via video, that can spill out into the real world, hopefully, when it's all over. If all you're looking for right now is a little bit of a laugh because you just need that, then listen to Welcome to My World. It was the first podcast I did when this all started, because what was going on looked an awful lot like how things have been for me for a number of years. And you can hear that in my voice. If you're having some trouble starting a big project, and I mean, maybe a life change or something huge that just seems absolutely monumental, I have two podcasts for you. One is Fourth Dimension and Messages from You to You, and A Note from the Future. It's actually two podcasts that basically cover the same thing from different perspectives, and it's a way to kind of manipulate things that's epic. It's an epic manipulation of things that allows you to do something just really amazing. And when it works and you tell people about this, they won't even believe you. The only way you'll probably get them to believe you is to say, look, just listen to this podcast. Because otherwise they'll think you made it up and you're crazy. But it does work, and it's one of the coolest things I like hearing about when it comes to feedback. If during this time of limited activity and exposure and change, and in some cases you may also have pretty gray, boring weather on top of that, if that's the case and you are finding that you've lost your passion, or you're one of these people who listens to podcasts and reads books and thinks, I guess I don't have a passion. I don't know. And then you start to feel bad because you're not one of the cool kids. Listen to the podcast called Passion, and it'll help you feel a lot better about not having it, or maybe looking at it from a different perspective. If during this time you find that you have a lot more time to be alone with your thoughts and you're noticing an awful lot of random ones, if they're driving you crazy, fear not, because the podcast Random Thoughts shows you just how useful this can be. It shows you a really simple method or two of how to make those random thoughts work for you. So you don't do any extra work necessarily, but you get to squeeze all the juicy goodness out of them. Who doesn't want that? If the bottom line is you don't even know if you're looking for motivation or information, then give a listen to Motivation or Information? If you're one of the people who thought, man, I'm cooped up, I have extra time. Well, of course, with all this extra time, I can just finish that great American novel or write that book. Then you may want to listen to the 2-part that I did called Writing That Book and Writing That Book Part 2. It's sort of a look at people who make these New Year's resolutions to decide to write a book. Having written a few by now, and side note, the sequel to The Sword and the Sunflower was just finished, and it's in the works of reaching you this summer, which is pretty exciting. I was able to get through this gray that we're experiencing to get that book done, so I definitely applied the rules to myself. Speaking of being creative in quarantine, it may have forced you to be more creative because you may have started putzing with hobbies, and very, very, very good for you. If that's the case, or you're a creative from day one, you probably have the same curse that everyone who's truly creative does, which is that you worry about making something great, and then you take it too far, and then you say, does this suck? So listen to the podcast of the same name. Now, if you want to really mix things up, which is what I like to do in the podcasts, and instead of listening to the self-helpy-ish sort of things, instead you want to listen to another person's voice, as lovely as mine is, thank you, then listen to some of my conversations that I have with people. I try to strive to, instead of going through a checklist of yep, I like to let people talk, and I like to kind of juggle the keeping them on track, but really pursuing and having some discovery of really interesting things that they say. I really love that. And so I've had a number of interesting ones recently. John McAfee was a very interesting one, and so was Scott Adams, who's written a number of best-selling books. He's well known for Dilbert and his activity on both Periscope and Twitter. You can actually see his Periscopes every single day, where he comments on things, things that are in the news, things that are happening right now. And he has a great perspective on things. He has a great way of focusing and filtering. He talks about the talent stack and all sorts of stuff like that. So I'm singling him out because it's a recent one and he's a lot of fun. But don't think that that's the only interview or conversation. I've talked to all sorts of wonderful people, and you can scroll through on your podcast app. You can go to the website and you can literally click on a tag for conversations. You can do a search. So check those out as well. They might just be kind of a fun breaking up the monotony of, hey, here's what you do. Hey, here's what you do. So I hope this was successful in that it kind of brought new light to you of things that I've done. I try to put this stuff out in a very consistent manner. Like I said, I think we're almost on episode 200, which is amazing to me. But in doing so, things can get lost in the shuffle. I mean, it's just like going to a restaurant and they give you like a 9-page menu and you're like, well, I'm sure it's all good. And then you end up ordering the same thing over and over again because you don't want to try anything new. Part of the reason you don't want to try anything new is sometimes you can't picture it, And as a side note, I wish all menus were picture menus. Then you wouldn't have to stare at somebody as they order something and go, wait, what is she having? So this is my way of showing you what she's having. So if you guys like this and you know me on feedback, please give me feedback on this. Tell me if this whole giving you a menu periodically makes a lot of sense. I think it do. I think it do. No, I think it does. I think it does in that you need the person who creates the stuff to kind of walk you through it, right? So I'm trying to walk you through recent ones that are very applicable to the position we're all kind of been forced into recently, but also things that you can do regardless of the life situation. So please check those out and give me feedback if you like this whole menu every so often, because I think this is something I should probably do for you periodically. Maybe every 2 months, maybe every 8 episodes. I don't know. But I think it's a really good idea to kind of sort through them with you. You let me know. And in the meantime, take care and let me know how it went and enjoy. Hey, it's me again. Thanks for listening. 2 things for you. If you like this, I'd really love that you rate it on iTunes or Spotify. Would love to have the stars that are appropriate, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. And the other thing is, I do have a new book out, and I would love for you to take a peek at it. It's called The Sword and the Sunflower. It's on Amazon as a Kindle as well as a paperback. Thanks. Just a little blurb at the end here. Take care.